Well, here we are, the final day of regulation. Of course, I am the big man, Mac. I'm the head of the show. I'm the big host, boy. And it's the DoorDash LCO. We've got a whole lot of action today, and there is many outcomes which we are going to discuss. Potential for a three-way tie, potential for a four-way tie, potential for there to be also no tie. And we do have League Ops absolutely kicking themselves right now. But there is a whole lot of action to get to, so let's have a look back at what happened yesterday before we jump right in.
The Baron is getting lower, down to 2,500, closer and closer to smite range. Will only be willing to go for the smite steal. It doesn't matter because somehow, someway, Claire has stolen it. I do not believe what I'm watching right now. The kick, going on to Violet. Bomb comes out, going to get sidestepped from. No CC to follow things up. The pillar looks to try and deny Tally on the backline. It's got the Dominus ramping and just collapses on through. Busts the fake seal. The ultimate doesn't matter because you're dead and gone. But attention on to Goodo as he actually gets knocked back into Narnia. Where on earth is he going? Sapphire against the world right now goes Golden. Baits out the stopwatch as then the Moonfall comes them through, but more stopwatch and more damage to try and follow this one up as Gareth starts looking to find those kills. But now they're jumping on through, looking to try and find those resets as Ben finds them. But that is a Goodo becoming unstoppable. A double kill. The base is unprotected. They're running towards the Nexus. They're running to try and end this one right now, but in comes Fire Transfer. Kisei with the on-hit damage, looking to try and take this inhibitor so they can turn their attention. The arrow goes out, hookshot goes in. A couple of auto attacks onto this one, and Chiefs can win this one. They're going to go for the Nexus and end this game.
Some crazy damn games coming in yesterday, which has left us with a really awkward situation at the top of the table and two awkward individuals that I'm going to bring into the show now. Rust Dog, you're loving it, and the Skim Meister, who's back for 2 days in a row.
Awkward. I am. Yeah, we're just looking fresh. You know, we went to the wardrobe. We didn't even discuss this, but we came to rehearsal and we're like, okay, it just may be a bit of denim action going on tonight.
True.
Yeah,
well, I
look,
don't own any denim up top, unfortunately, or I'd be wearing it.
No, but the thing is, Mac, I'm matching you a little bit. I was inspired from you yesterday, so we've got the beanie on, right? We've got a little bit of Mac chic in there, so you may not have the denim, but we've got you covered.
Look, I used to be a big beanie fan. I had like 17 beanies at one point, and then throughout time, they just all got stolen when I was out on the town, and then they just disappeared, and now I've only got that one that I was wearing yesterday. Anyway, let's not talk about my horrible situation with my beanies. Let's talk about the standings, because Rusty, you weren't here yesterday, and I'm sure you have something to say about what this table currently looks like.
Yeah, there was a couple of really crazy games yesterday, wasn't there? I think Skimmy posted on socials as well, the shortest and the longest records both broken, so some pretty big surprises overall. The biggest surprise for me is that, you know, earlier in the day, we're like, oh, a couple upsets have happened here. You know, there's an opportunity. Direwolves with that win, looking like they can upset the top of the tables. Pentadet or Chiefs, right, could be a shoe-in for first, and suddenly we end up with a tie. So not exactly the way that anyone anticipated it going, but hey, it means that the last day is very important for all three of these teams competing, even if they're not playing against each other.
Yeah, and that could get a little bit spicy. Skimmy, you have anything to say before we jump into the rest of the pre-show here? Of course, we do have the top 5 teams locked in now because Gravitas and Legacy cannot chase peace at all. So it is going to be the 5 you see highlighted on the screen there.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy to think at the start of the season, right? We had this situation where it was going to be a triple round robin. You're thinking there's no way a tiebreaker would happen, but now it's a very real possibility. What did producer Pete reckon? It was like 37% chance that it could actually happen. So they're molding backstage, not on camera, and we're just here talking yarns, getting it done, and hoping to be an entertaining night.
Yeah, it's just one of those crazy situations. Now let's have a look at what games we do have today here on the DoorDash LCO to keep it potentially spicy and potentially extremely flavoursome. It is going to be Direwolves and the Chiefs going head-to-head to kick things off here at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. We do have Pentanet and Gravitas going mono-mono. 8 p.m. Peace and Order. Both teams probably want the win more than the other, so that should be a very fine game for you guys to feast on at home. And at 9 p.m, Mammoth and Legacy. Both teams already out of playoffs, so I have a feeling this one could be a bit fun, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. But Rusty, which one are you looking at as your, I guess, best game of the day, potential banger?
I mean, I think it goes without saying that game one's going to be the game to watch, just based off the hot form that they both found themselves in, right? Yesterday's dubs are going to mean a big deal for how excited we are for game number one. But I think quietly as well, game 3 is going to be a big deal Not only do Order need the win to stay in contention for first place, which is very important for playoffs implications, but Peace have found their form again, and that's going to be a tough competition to go up against in their own right.
Found their form, found their fire, found a whole lot of things, and hopefully it keeps on working out for them, because at the moment I think they are locked in as that last place spot in the playoffs, so they're going to have to make the dream lower bracket redemption run if they want to make it all the way into the grand final and have another shot at the title, because they were there last season, they came second, and now they're all the way down here. Can I just quickly say, how great has Split 2 been in terms of entertainment? Like, Split 1, it was a bit of a monster in terms of PGG, just way out ahead of the pack for the most part until it got to playoffs. This season, so much more entertaining. We've got a 3-way tie. We've got a potential 3 or 4-way tie after today. It's like, you know how there's like the climax of a movie? It's supposed to be, you know, towards the end, you know, and then it sort of simmers down a bit. Our climax is at the end. It's always going to be the final thing that we see here. However, let's have a quick chat about the a couple of champions in particular. We're not going to be doing key picks today. We are having a...
We have a key pick.
Yeah, we're having a look at a key pick. A champion spotlight is what it's going to be called, and it's your boy Trundle. So we've seen a lot of Trundle over the last couple of weeks since, I think, the 11.14 update. Trundle getting a little buff there and then hanging through into 11.15. And now we're looking at the runes here. So I'm a noob. Please tell me what all these things mean, Rusty.
Yeah, so the reason that we want to talk about Trundle in the first place is it was brought up yesterday. It's being seen not just locally but abroad as a pretty prolific champion option. I saw it a couple days ago in the LPL, started running the numbers as Juve likes to say, and then suddenly we were seeing it here. So clearly teams have been practicing on it. And I just wanted to quickly run through some of the things that make Trundle really good. Coming from someone who, this is not like a thing I'm going to flaunt all the time, but I've been playing this for a lot of the time, even when it was bad. So I've got the hours on the champion. First of all, we'll start with the runes. So Hail of Blades and Guardian are your two choices. One of the big things about running Guardian, it's pretty obvious when you want a shield, right, for your laning phase. But beyond just the Guardian, you also get Font of Life and Second Wind in the same rune tree. And Font of Life with Trundle's Pillar is really, really useful because anyone who's slowed by the Pillar has a proc above their head, right? Has a mark above their head. So it just innately gives value by existing as a really nice supplementary rune. Guardian's just a big shield, which is obviously going to be good. Coupling with Locket, like you can see down the end. Hail of Blades is the new tech, I would say. And Trundle, usually you'll start with your Q Hail of Blades level 1 trades are gross. And it means that if you're able to go without leashing for your jungler, you get some lane priority. And especially if your enemy laner is like an Aftershock user, right? Or someone in melee range. You just have it go. You win 1v1s. So if your AD carry wins 1v1s, everyone's having a good time in the Trundle lane. The secondary is always Inspiration. I very rarely see something else. Biscuits are really valuable. Time Warp Tonic's useful for trading if you need that extra movement speed or the immediate boost from the potions. You can go Dematerializer if the lane's impossible because you've messed up your draft. Chomp is on here as the third choice because we saw this yesterday actually in the LCO. Trundle started with Pillar, and I think it's very rare that I would actively want to start with my Pillar because it does nothing. It's like a 26-second cooldown, 24-second cooldown that has a 30% slow on it, and they can just beat you because you're missing the Chomp damage. And the Chomp damage not only gives you extra AD, it takes it away from your opponent. So I see very little reason not to go Chomp over the Pillar, unless there's like a specific lane where you think it's necessary, like maybe a Nautilus that you don't want to fight. So you just put the Pillar up in his face if he throws a hook. And even then, I think you're still not going to do as much as a Q start. The fourth thing here is Locket of the Eye and Solari. And I'm going to preface this one, Mac, by saying that I never build Locket of the Eye and Solari because I'm a dirty cheeser. I always go Imperial Mandate because it goes really well with the Pillar. Not only do you get Font of Life as a mark above their head, but you get Imperial Mandate. So more damage. I just think it's really valuable, but the Mythic passive is garbage. So you just cheese with it. Locket's the standard. There's not too much to say about this. It just makes sense. Couples with Guardian really nicely, extra shields, and makes you more of a support when you're really not one. The other thing that I want to quickly mention before we move on back to Chomp is that I would still E max. Okay. I start Q, which is why it's on this list, but I still max E. You can go like 3 points Q into E max, but the difference between level 1 Pillar and level 5 Pillar is like double the slow and half the cooldown. And that is most of your kit if you're playing the support role. So I would always E-max with Trundle support.
There you have it. So, Skimmy, anything to touch on before we jump off the graphic?
Just a couple of points. The preference globally that we're seeing is Guardian. I think it was about 60% in favor of going for that choice as opposed to Halo Blades, just based on lane matchups and sort of your own comfort, I suppose. But in terms of sort of the common pairings with the Trundle, you're looking at Ziggs, Varus, and Ashe. We saw Ziggs and Ashe yesterday from Legacy and PGG, but not the Varus just yet. But those seem to be the most common pairings because it just gives you a whole bunch of CC, a lot of damage to follow things up with. And the rundown potential, which we saw on a number of times, catch people off guard.
All right. And speaking of catching people off guard, you guys at home, it's time for you to make some content because you probably weren't ready for that one. It comes every day at the start of the day, and you bet I'm going to ask you nicely, hey guys, you want to generate some content for us today? Well, feel free and at us on all the damn socials. You got your Twitters, you got your Twitches, you got your YouTubes, you got your Instagrams. I was going to say Instafrags, but that's a completely different platform. And then we got some Facebook as well. So I believe there's streams on YouTube, Facebook, and the old Twitch. So make sure you drop your content in there. And even if it's in Twitch chat, just at any of the lovely mods, and I'm sure that they can pass it forward and we can get it in. Because we've had a few times where we've gotten some memes from the Twitch chat because people are being too lazy to make it happen over on Twitter. And look, follow the old LCO as well as Rusty, because Rusty needs your support right now. He's going through a tough time. He doesn't know how to smile anymore. Now, moving forward, we do have a sick meme coming in from Parbu's mum. So let's have a quick look here, and hopefully this makes you smile, Rusty.
That was his mum.
Get roasted by your mum on stream, hey.
Oh, no.
That's solid.
Meredith, you're in the bad books now with Parbu, but we thank you for it.
The pink's like gone. His hair's grown out so quickly that it's just, there's like a little bit every like here and there on his head. What a mugshot though. Where's he going? Prison?
I believe that's the passport photo that he took.
It's the old visa check. It's just,
is it?
It's not pretty though, is it?
That's right. You're not allowed to smile. Is it like the passport photos you're not allowed to smile in?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's silly. Yeah, right. So Rusty, you've probably taken a lot of passport photos then, right?
You know the problem with passport photos, Mac, is you have to have your hair behind your ears, which I'd show you my old passport photo if I had it handy, but I had a really bad blonde surfer hair, and that was the most embarrassing photo I've ever taken.
That's all right. It's pretty easy to take some terrible mugshots for your driver's license, for your passports. It's all pretty fun. I'm not going to show mine on stream. That's probably a really bad idea for safety of identity. Anyway, let's have a quick chat about game number 1. We do have Direwolves and the Chiefs here. So let's talk Direwolves first. Yesterday, big W for them, and now putting them in contention for maybe making it to the top of the table, depending on how the rest of the top of the table plays today. And Rusty, tell me what their recipe for success is, and why is it Claire throwing rocks at Baron?
I mean, it definitely is Claire throwing rocks at Baron if the enemy team starts it, but up until that point in the game, it's been really big moves from the jungler in only, and strong performances overall from the rest of the team, right? Claire yesterday had a matchup that's pretty difficult to deal with. The enemy team looking to gank him constantly. I believe it was the Talia Renekton, which has a quota you expect to die, but immediately, only comes up there. They get the turnaround kills, and it looks really good for Direwolves. Shock has his Syndra, has his champions in meta. Cassiopeia, I believe, was the other one that he mentioned yesterday in an interview with Nat. There's both of those, and his last 3 games have been on Syndra and Cassiopeia, and what more can you say about that, right? They're just winning through their top side and their bot lane. You've got Cuppers roaming everywhere, and then you've got Crabbles down there just doing his thing with mages. Yeah,
so everyone playing out of their minds lately, but it's obviously going to be a battle of 2 teams, and it could be a very long night. So let's talk Chiefs. Skimmy, tell me, what have they been doing right, and why are they here at the top of the table after the crazy 50-minute game that we saw yesterday?
Yeah, what a game that was, right? I mean, it was confusing because you had these polar opposite compositions where on one side a team wanted a hard force team fights, the other wanted a hard play for the macro. And a bit critical at times during that game, right? We were saying you're not playing to those strengths, but then they unleashed it and they drew us out to a 50-minute bang, as you said, and we're able to get the get the dub across the finish line in the end. But in this one here, it's a 1-to-1 tie. They started off really strong to the split. They had this clear identity, this clear style. They've clearly made a few adaptations going through the different cycles of the patches. And you're just hoping that form is still there intact, but they've still got that core identity, but they've got a little bit of spice in the reserve if necessary once we start to get into those best of fives.
And I'm so excited to get into the best of fives as well. I only found out today that every single game in the playoffs is going to be best of fives, so there's going to be a whole damn lot of action between the top 5 teams once we get there. And I guess we're just playing for now who's going to be where's going to be who, and who's going to be versing who, and who beats who, and who wins against the others. In short, that's the quick way to put it. Now, in this game today, I'm feeling like we're going to have an absolute banger matchup. Both teams have different strengths, different weaknesses, and last time we saw these two teams play, it was a damn good one as well, wasn't it, Rusty?
Yeah, it was a good match. There was a couple of key points here, though. I think this is one of the games where it felt like Chiefs drafted pretty rough overall.
Yeah.
They went for the Sejuani Braum combo, forced a Yone into mid, and you know, the Tahm Kench, I recall it hard winning its lane early. It was out of control for Claire, and this was one of the many games that Claire has struggled dealing with a TK, but the composition of Direwolves was just far too powerful, and this is not something that I would expect to see from the Chiefs again. They forced a weird comp where I don't think you can give that edge to Direwolves, because if they win draft, they tend to just win the game.
Okay, well, we have someone that can ask who's going to win the game and who's going to be drafting what, and that's Nat. She's down on the sidelines, and she has 2 handsome individuals to have a quick chat to.
Yeah, I am going to be joined by Cupcake and Lived, and I can try and ask them about champs. Thank you both so much for joining me. Lived, you guys had an absolutely banger of a game yesterday. It went on for 50 minutes. So how are you guys feeling coming off the back of that one, which was also a win into this matchup today?
Yeah, it was a pretty exhausting game yesterday, but it was a very fun game. I'm quite excited for today's match.
Yeah, do you think it's going to go to that 50 minutes again, or are you hoping to close it out a little bit quicker?
I hope it doesn't, but you know, if it does, then, well, we're better prepared, I guess.
That's true, you've experienced it already. Cupcake, over on the side of Direwolves, you were able to shut down Order's winning streak yesterday. Does it give you a little bit of maybe momentum and more confidence tonight?
The win definitely felt good, but I think the game itself was a little bit anticlimactic. I don't think they really showed up to play, and we just kind of rolled over them, and it feels like we were better prepared. So we went on like a huge high, like we took down their winning streak and we're like going in guns blazing. But, you know, we're quietly confident. We're prepared really well for Chiefs as well, and hopefully it's going to be a good game.
In what sort of ways have you prepared for this game, and do you think you're maybe more prepared for the Chiefs game than the Order game yesterday?
I mean, you're just going to have to wait and see what we've prepared, but we've done a lot of different angles, and let's just say I hope Dracu has a lot of picks prepared, because I'm going to be using my Champion Ocean tonight.
That makes me so excited to hear. I also want to ask, you know, this is going to be our last game of the regular season, so I assume by now you guys would know your identity as a team, but I want to hear from you, Cupcake. I want you to explain it to me, Direwolves' gameplay identity.
I think the identity has shifted a little bit with this new patch, but we're still, I think a lot of our strength comes with the drafting and the early game macro and playing like as a team early on and just snowballing through that. Without getting into specifics, I think, yeah, our early game and our strategy is going to give us an edge tonight.
I look forward to it. Luke, same sort of question for you. What is Chiefs' gameplay identity?
Yeah, I think ours is pretty clear. We've been doing it for most of the split now. It's just like a very, very strong top side, and then our bot side just plays weak, and like they sometimes still end up winning the lane. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, I guess. But I think we've got a pretty clear identity.
Yeah, definitely. When I look at the head-to-head between you guys, you both won 1 game each. So I want to know, firstly, what advantage you think you have coming into this matchup, but also what you've learned from the past loss, if you want to go first, Lived.
Well, I think it's like we're both pretty evenly matched. Like, I think everyone is pretty good at their roles. I think Shock has definitely come in to like play for the second half of the split. I think he's definitely improved a lot, and the mages have come back into meta, and he's incredibly talented at those. But I think Ronald is also like incredibly talented, and I think we'll be able to hold him in the mid lane. I think our bot lane is honestly probably just stronger 2v2. I think they have better mechanics and better macro. I think I've been playing top lane for a bit longer than Claire as well. I think I understand the game a bit more on the top side. So obviously our jungler is probably one of the best junglers in the league. So I think that's probably our advantages.
It seems you have advantage all over the map. Cupcake, what do you think? Where's the advantage for Direwolves and some of the learnings?
I mean, yeah, I guess we're just beaten across the map in all 5 roles. So hopefully a miracle happens tonight. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, look, miracles do happen. We'll see if tonight is going to be one of them. Thank you both so much for joining me, and good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Players can dream, can't they? Look, it's
I love it.
crazy interview. Good to know that one team has the 5 best players in the server and the other certainly doesn't. However, we've got to get to predictions. Also, Nat, hey, how are you? We didn't actually ask how you were. I just jumped into the interview. How you doing today?
I'm good, and that's totally fair. You know, we don't want to leave these players hanging too much. Sometimes I like to go on a little bit of a ramble, so I guess because I'm on the single, I'll just do that ramble now. I'm doing really great. I'm working from home these days, so I get to have a little bit of a relaxed start to my mornings, but thank you for asking.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now let's jump into the predictions and see what we here on the desk think is going to happen. Of course, I've allowed a Twitch chat to make the decision for me. They've been doing all right. Yeah, I like your Twitch. I like your Twitch. Rusty, you've gone with Chiefs and Skimmy Direwolves. So, Rusty, why have you gone for that? Then, Skimmy, tell me why Direwolves.
Mac, I've gone really in depth with my analysis for today's predictions. I've tipped the 3-way tie. That's it.
Okay.
So I've gone for Chiefs because that's the higher probability of a 3-way tie. So Direwolves can't win today. They're just outmatched individually in every single lane. It's just that simple.
And what about you, Skimmy? Why have you gone for the other side of the coin?
I've actually gone for League Ops, making their life a little bit easier. So whilst Rushy's chosen fire and just wants to cause pain to other people, I want to see for 2 reasons. Obviously, that joke aside, if they can win here, Direwolves, they can claim 3rd seed. They can then get themselves into the upper bracket. But I think, they actually look pretty strong on this patch. Coming into the patch first week, they look really strong. Yesterday, they took down Order when everyone was against them. I think, well, not you, Nat. I mean, you're just the 5-head genius. But I think there's a world in which Direwolves can cause an upset. It's a 1-to-1 head-to-head. Game on.
Okay, and let's jump on to page number 2 and see what Nat's gone for. Oh, Chiefs on page 2. This happened yesterday. Second page kept on being the same damn thing.
Okay, first of all, I want to say this might be the 1-5 talent prediction power spike, and Direwolves do take the win.
It happened 3 times yesterday, right?
It did. Every time it was a 1-5 yesterday, the 1-1.
The 1-1 That's it.
I'll let you sit with that one.
That's English.
Yes. But yeah, I've gone for Chiefs. This felt like such a coin flip today. So I asked Siri to flip a coin, and Rusty told me that Chiefs. So I asked you what Direwolves would be if they were a side of the coin, and you said they would be heads, and Siri gave me tails. So we've gone with Chiefs.
There you have it. So I'm just excited to get into the game, and I'll tell you why, because it gives me time to exclamation DoorDash in the chat and get myself some bloody dinner because I'm starving. I cut the lawn out the back today, so I've worked up an appetite and I'm ready to feast. You guys at home probably going to be ready to feast as well, so make sure you do use DoorDash, get yourself a nice little bit of food. So we actually have a nice little surprise for you guys as well. We have a Discord set up, so if you drop the old use the QR code. That's the one. So use that QR code quickly while it's on your screen. It's there. We know. There's already a few individuals from the chat that are already in the Discord, and I believe we've got a meme from them coming up shortly. But use the QR code while it's there. Join the Discord. Make sure you get in there, and you can not only watch the games, you can chat with the rest of the fans. You can send your content in that way as well, maybe to make it easier if you're a bit of a Discord fan, and things are going to be A-okay. So please join the Discord, and it's just going to make everything way more streamlined, and you can get more LCO goodness straight to your Discord door. Now, we do have one meme already coming in through your boy, Davo Erlo. So let's have a look here. Rusty, break it down for me.
Jesus, I don't really know how to... Where's the fire?
It's Pentanet.
Oh.
Yeah.
And everyone else around them.
Inverse meme. Instead of the dog being surrounded by fire, it's the fire surrounded by dogs. And honestly, that is pretty fine. I would definitely be okay if I was surrounded by dogs.
What? What's gravitas?
What are you picture on a
wrap
wall?
it up.
Like, they're a
Perfect
poster.
summary.
Yeah, gravitas is the mirror in the background.
Legacy's passed out from too much coffee. I don't know. Maybe too much hard work there. Peace are just looking the other way because they're looking at another roster swap.
It's a fun time. Anyway, good job, Davo, for utilizing the new Discord perfectly. And you guys too can use it. Just make sure you jump back in the VOD, use the QR code, join up. I'm sure that there's something in chat going around as well. I think there is. There it is. I see it. What is it? Is it exclamation Discord? It certainly is. That's what I was going to say it, but I didn't see it anywhere, so I didn't know if it existed. But it does. So exclamation Discord, join that way as well, because there'll be a link you can click and it's way easier. Now, let's have a quick look head-to-head at a couple of players to see what is going to be going down in the bot lane. Gunkrab. Oh, there's the bananas.
Oh, it's bananas.
The double bananas.
Okay, well, I think Direwolves are going to win this game solely because Gunkrab finally pulled out the double bananas, and I had word as well that this man brought his own 2 bananas to the photo shoot to get this image.
That's kind of incredible that you bring. I guess he's done enough photo shoots in his time back that he knows that you can bring your own props.
Very true.
Credit to him. I mean, there's no way Mboma wins the pose off here, which is really all this graphic is about, as we've learned in recent weeks. There's numbers on there, but like we're looking at their poses more than anything else. So you have to pick up your game for 2022.
If you guys were to bring one prop to a photo shoot, what would it be?
Oh, I have so many props.
Yeah.
I don't know which is my favorite.
Only
Probably my bright pink Speedos.
Oh!
I don't know what photo shoot you've gone to, but I like it. That's definitely a very interesting one.
I'm just going to the beach. It's not even a photo shoot. It's just a good time. Now, you don't have to wear them on their own. You can wear them over the top of everything, and it makes it more fun. You look like a superhero. You feel like a superhero, too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Champ Select is ready. Not going to keep you any longer. Final day of regular season. Let's get into it. It is Direwolves and the Chiefs.
So it is, Mac. This is a big game for multiple reasons because these teams are, historically speaking, the most successful that OS has ever seen. 4 championship titles between the two of them. It's been a hot minute since they last won, but, these are fierce rivals looking to try and do it again in a brand new tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, we should look at the standings implications again before we get too far into this one. It's a must-win for the Chiefs, right, if they want to have any type of contention for first place, which is skipping best of 5s in playoffs. It's really obvious, right? You want to get those wins when you can. For Direwolves, a win here puts them at 14-7, would tie them with the Chiefs, and I believe would actually give them head-to-head over the Chiefs. So again, it's a big game. For a lot of reasons, and that's not really even taking into account Order and Pentanet.gg, who also need to win later in the day. So this game, big implication between both teams, and if Cupcake gets his way, Skimmy, it's going to be a big deal for him and Dragku in their support champion pool.
Certainly will be. It's kind of crazy to think about it, that Chiefs are currently tied in first, but if they lose this game here, they end up in 4th as Direwolves can pinch them and get the upper bracket in 3rd. So definitely a lot of gravity towards the final day of this season, as we get ourselves geared up for those best of 5. Still a best of 1 here today and throughout the rest of the night, but opening things up here, we do have a Viego. It's going to be followed up here by the Ziggs as well as the Xin Zhao. You love to see it.
Also a lot of targeted bans. There's not the Viegos, the Gwens, and the Aurelias on the red side here. We've got the Bard specifically, the LeBlanc, it feels like, specifically as well, even though Kisei can play it.
Yep.
Camille is very clearly a takeaway from Claire. You mentioned this yesterday. Skimmy was 7-0 on the pick and is continuing to look fantastic on it, so must ban. And then you've got your Tahm Kench on the other side as well, which is not just for Lived, but for Dragku. And is a support pick that we're seeing now even in the LCK, right? So it definitely hasn't dropped off the face of the earth. It's not a Dragku only thing, but he's definitely the one who tried to master it locally in Oceania.
Yeah, certainly has got a fair few crazy champions available at his disposal. We talk about champion pools, then there's definitely that discussion to be had here as we do wait to see what Cupcake and Dragku will lock in. But already, I'm very excited about this jungle matchup. You're looking at arguably the best champions in their roles for Only and Swathe. Both of them are 100% win rate on the Xin Zhao and the Evelyn. One of these guys is banking on some good luck charm with that. But yeah, who's going to come out on top? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, very true. I mean, we're getting a lot of pocket picks, it feels like, in general through the rest of these picks as well, barring the Renekton. That's the one point of difference here, I think, between both teams and how they've been drafting. Direwolves on red side have gone for, I want to say, the more standard blind pickable option could be into Viego. Now that Evelyn's locked in, sure, you could match the lane potentially wherever he goes, but I don't think it'll be Shock playing it. I think it'll be a lane swap. Waiting to see exactly what happens there. You would always assume that it is Gunkrab on Ziggs. I don't think you would ever assume that Shock is going to get that one. He's got the Cassiopeia, he's got the Syndra still available, Zoe, Ryze, 2 good options for him as well, with the LeBlanc gone, so you can't ban all of them, Skimmy. He's definitely going to get one of them, and I would expect to see that 4th picked. I know you could probably counter-pick Kisei, give yourself a really strong mid lane matchup, which is possible, but I think Syndra, you know, if available, is just strong enough to pick. Unfortunately, that one's gone. You may have a similar idea with the Zoe or the Cassio.
See what direction he goes, because I mean, we heard, Shock pretty confidently saying, I don't really care who I go up against, right? I feel like I am just the outright lane bully and can beat anyone. So, you know, maybe he does just go for that blind matchup. You can see that the emphasis here from the Direwolves is to ban away the supports from Drag, who get themselves the best matchup possible. So maybe we will see that as the next pick coming out here from Direwolves, as we'll wait to see how Chiefs open this one out. We saw from yesterday Kisei kind of expanding his horizons, played Twisted Fate, very different style from him. You think of Kisei, you think of Lee Sin, Graves, Yone, Aurelia, the likes of just high impact, big pop-off performances. Interesting to see if they can continue to go in that direction here today. As,
maybe Ryze, I think, would be the best 4th pick option for them. Like, if Kisei's going to go the Twisted Fate route, then you've got the Ryze who runs teleport, can naturally handle that. So this is interesting to me that they choose not to. It's clear that they want to distinctly handle whatever Kisei goes for, and opting into the Rakan, not knowing your matchup, but being able to control it enough that you can ban away something like the Leona, does actually present very well for the Ziggs Rakan bot lane. Not a lot of things that hard counter it now. Maybe you just pick your Nautilus and you know, have an okay lane instead.
What I was wondering, if it was a Trundle angle, it looked like it possibly could be with this sort of melee cleave that Direwolves have put together. They have opted for the Nautilus instead, as you say, so a lot of CC between the pairing for the Chiefs, but a lot when it comes to grouping on up. Be curious to see what the Chiefs do lock in now as their mid lane matchup. It isn't going to be the case of a blind pick for the side of Shock. He wants the best matchup possible. He's been in hot form, much like the rest of his team. And that's going to be a last pick of an Ornn.
Yeah, so that'll put the Viego mid, which does mean, of course, that Shock gets to see that. Cassiopeia is definitely an option that you could look at now. Very hard to be Viego if you can't use W and R on that Miasma. Again, there's always the possibility that it's a mid-Renekton and a mid-Ziggs. Things can be flexible, but we're just saying, again, what Direwolves are most likely to do here. I think Chiefs are the one that threw a bit of a curveball. Their composition had Engage already, and it feels like they've now overloaded their composition with so much Engage. One big thing for the Cassiopeia that makes this hard, though, Skimmy, which is why it could be a concern, you can't get Merc Treads. Not exactly the easiest crowd control to get out of either, right? There's knockups everywhere, so pretty difficult. If the Chiefs catch you, they'll layer their crowd control nicely, but still you can see the merit of the Cassiopeia pick.
Certainly can, and the comfort not only for Shock individually, but for a pairing between himself and Only, because if you look at the match history, they've played it twice, and it always has been these two as a mid-jungle combination, so definitely know what they're about, how to play it, how to perform, and they've had some pretty strong matchups to deal with in the past. Right, you're looking at Lucian, Trundle was a matchup to try and really punish the fact of no tenacity and no boots, as you say, and to try and keep that flash on cooldown for defensive usage. But we've talked about this before, as much as we highlight and praise what the Direwolves have put together here for their comfort's sake, you can definitely argue the same here for the Chiefs, especially that Evelynn once again. We're going to go back to it because, you know, this is Swaith that brings it out, causes chaos, really hones it in the idea of how strong is your vision control, how good is your map control to sort of have understandings of where that vision should be at any given moment?
Yeah, Evelynn, you know, Swaith, not only is he a fantastic Evelynn player, he's a master of the pick. It's just so proficient at picking off the outskirts, the edges of every team composition. A single lapse in vision control, a single lapse in judgment. You know, that one mistake, if the Evelynn's there, you get punished heavily for it. And all it takes is for the Eve to win an early skirmish, for things to go heavily awry for you. And suddenly this Eve is able to one-hit most of your team. In saying that, there is so much that can actually handle that Eve fine, you know, with easy magic resistance to be purchased. So we'll see how this plays out.
We certainly will see how this plays out, as it is a battle to try and break up the three-way tie at the top of the table. I'm joined by Kuden as we talk about the Chiefs for the final day of action here in the season. And Kuden, I want to start by asking you a bit of an ambiguous question. Do you believe in fate? Because historically speaking, we've seen that 9 times whoever comes first in the season ends up winning the playoffs too.
Yep, we plan to get first place. There's no such thing as fate.
Just pure hustle and pure performance.
Yeah.
I plan to get first place from the get-go, so there's no such thing as like we control everything we do.
Well, I mean, we have seen that sort of control, right? Because you mentioned a few weeks with me that, you know, you'd swapped out the coaching staff, you'd bounced back from that one, really sort of picked up where you left off at the start of the season. How would you rate your split as a whole? You know, what were some of the highlights, would you say, for yourself, your coaching staff, or even the team?
Stomping people in scrims, never losing a game ever. Going to Shenzhen will be my highlight. Going to China with the boys, meeting everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how's sort of the hustle? I mean, you talk about obviously scrimming well, but in terms of visa paperwork, we've heard some conversation around that being a bit of a mission. Are you on top of that, mate? Have you just got 50 Smurfs working overtime to get that one through?
Visas?
Yeah.
You asked about visas? Yeah, I'm friends with the Chinese president or leader.
Oh, true.
We don't need visas. He'll let us through anytime we want.
I'll just speed track that one in.
Yep.
That's perfect, bro. All right, well, you got connections in high places. Quickly before I let you go, talk about this draft. We saw a big shift yesterday for a more macro-orientated composition. Is that to sort of be expected going forward into playoffs, this sort of evolution of the Chiefs to make sure that you have different ideas for a best of 5?
Yeah, everyone says Kisei is amazing mechanically, but he's a bit inexperienced, so I just chucked him in the deep end of the pool, you know? Put him on TF.
Yeah.
Learn some macro while we're playing for first place. Why not? Might as well.
Why not? I mean, that was some high-stake gaming. I guess the confidence paid off.
Yeah, we gotta learn macro sooner or later, so might as well do it against Pentanet.
Well, what a time to learn it up against a team like Pentanet. Hey, Kuden, thank you so much for your time, mate. We're gonna crack on with this game, and I wish you boys the best of luck for tonight.
Yeah.
Rusty, I don't know what to say. I mean, if your man's telling me that he's got a good one-to-one friendship with the president of China, I mean, how do you even follow that up?
You move on. You just move on. There's no other way to address that situation. The funny thing about what he said when he answered your first question, Skimmy, there's a saying that luck is the residue of design.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, you know, if you're able to draft effectively, you've designed yourself a situation where luck may be more on your side. I know that's like an ambiguous, roundabout way of explaining it, but even yesterday, when they were testing macro in his own words against the best team, they drafted themselves into a situation where if Pentanet made one mistake, they could win, right? Because they drafted well. So they've designed themselves that situation. You know, PGG make the single mistake and suddenly they're a chance of winning, and that is the way it plays out. 50-minute just fiesta towards the end of it, because there was nothing PGG could do, even though they were the team that was ahead for most of that.
It's just crazy breaking down that game. The fact that, yeah, it really was a case of, you know, one team wants to hard force, wants to dive, wants to win in that fashion. The other team, they want to avoid it at all costs. Hide out of vision, always threaten the back door, and ultimately that is what we got. So, kind of funny to hear that Kuden basically said, hey, look, we threw him in the deep end. It was a must-win game, but you know what? You've got to learn sometime or another. And I mean, these teams, as we said before, illustrious history with 4 championships between them, but it's been a hot minute since they last really challenged for the title, right? You look at Direwolves, 2020 split 1, they were runners-up. Chiefs runners-up back in 2019 split 2. For the most part, these teams haven't actually won a championship since 2016 or 2018, respectively. So it's been a while, but maybe, just maybe, this is the year for it.
Certainly has. And you know what, Skimmy? They're 2 of the 3 organizations that have existed since the original Oceanic League began. So they've had their time. They've definitely had a lot of opportunities to win, but it's a brand new roster doing it this time around, and we get to see how they come into it. Chiefs against Direwolves, very important match for first place in the standings, potentially being on the line.
Well, let's crack on into the game. The stakes set, and the team's ready to rock and roll. 2 very different ideas. We talk about comfort, as we mentioned before, but I am very much interested to see this jungle pairing. We know how aggressive Swaif is, sometimes at his own demise, as he will fall on down to secure that kill. But only once he gets that Zin's out, you sort of know what to expect. Big, strong engages, big targeted focus towards those side lanes. Oh, and already the action begins in the bot half. Is Draku just going to give him a warning shot with that dredge line?
Yeah, very similar to yesterday, wasn't it? The God hook was not missing early. If you're playing Nautilus, you hit the hooks, you're winning the lane. If you're missing the hooks, you're losing the lane. It genuinely is that simple a lot of the time, but was able to curve the anchor this time. So promising start there for the bot lane of the Chiefs. We just watched Swaith do his duo clear as well between Gromp and Blue Buff. He's going to work his way over towards the Raptors now and did smite, I believe, the Gromp to finish that one off faster. In saying that, the next point in the game that you always direct your attention towards is the vision at the current moment. You know, Chiefs, that is an incredibly defensive ward. They're so afraid of only invading that all they care about is Swaith farming. So they would assume that Only's now on the top side of the map near red buff, and you can see the map reflecting that.
Certainly can right now, as both are looking for that red buff to get themselves double buffed and ready to consider an early gank in this game. Might be a case of Only having the upper hand in that regard, not having to rely on the stealth passive that comes on through for level 6 as an Evelynn, but we have seen those ganks take place before with a nice charm and CC to start things off with. Very curious to see how this game will play out for multiple reasons, because I feel like if you're looking at current form, whilst Chiefs were the ones initially to say to us that this is our patch, hasn't necessarily all worked out in that sort of same fashion, right? We've got this weird trifecta between these three teams in particular where, you know, Chiefs lost to Order, Direwolves then beat Order yesterday, and you're still left scratching your head thinking there's a reason why we have a three-way tie.
Yeah, wow, sorry, I've been really distracted by what was happening in-game. Direwolves try and make a big play, but it just backfires. Claire takes the top Scuttle Crab, only passes from top to bottom to look at the bot Scuttle, and now walks all the way back up to Krug. So he actually misses out big time on multiple camps, and is wasting a significant amount of time. So what was a distinct advantage, you would say, for Direwolves, where Chiefs only had defensive vision, now just results in time being spent by Only trying to counteract that or play aggressively. Chiefs come out just winning. And if the game is level 6 for Evelynn before anything happens, that's a huge win, because that will be the free reset to Gromp and you know, potentially influence the map. But right now it does look like top lane's the place to be.
Seems to be the case right now. Is a feigned recall comes out here from Only. Everybody has their flash available, and it's going to be Only that deploys into the map first. As Claire's in trouble, down to 30%. In comes Swaith. There's the headbutt, flashed away from the pillar. The charm connects with Only, who has to try and dash away with a charge, and then flash to follow. But not enough damage there from the Evelynn. As everybody from Direwolves is down to 10%, and Chiefs just can't find that first blood.
Are going to be able to survive. That does basically give a free reset to Lived, which is the real winner in that situation. You know, both junglers using their flashes. Top laner Claire using his flash also probably has to teleport in because it's a big wave. So this is actually very similar to what we saw from the Chiefs yesterday, where Lived was able to get himself a pretty large advantage through summoners, while it wasn't the full kill. But yesterday it was Kisei ganking, so you know, much more effective this time around on the map is Swaith on this Evelynn, with a really nice counter gank.
Ideas as to where people could be at any given moment, and that's clearly preventing anything too crazy happening so early on. I'm starting to watch Shock here. Full ahead, kind of to be expected in a matchup like this, but you wouldn't necessarily imagine Cassiopeia to be the best early game champion, right? Definitely can fall into some mana pool problems. Not going to be the case here for the Viego, but just the pure fact that he's melee. And, you know, lifesteal has been significantly nerfed.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the reason why, Skimmy, is because Viego in lane has been pretty significantly nerfed with his sustain hitting marked minions. So, you know, doesn't have the best time in the 1v1. Shock can just sit there and, you know, while he has 3 points in the E's, not Q-maxing, that's the old Cass, just hit Qs, not expend crazy amounts of mana and just steadily poke your opponent down, right? You'll see he does this a lot as well. If you hit the early Q, you'll just throw one Fang in. As this looks like it's a double bait overall, but really I think it's just protecting Kisei. But yeah, you'll see Shock never use more than one Twin Fang once the poison is connected, because it costs too much mana. So very obviously knows his limits on the champ.
Does played it before the buffs and is now thriving with those buffs for the Cassiopeia. Interesting to note that as you saw there, it was a TP forced back by Kisei to come to this wave, then the protection from the rest of his team, at least from his support anyway, which that wave would crash. But Shock's going to TP to the minion. That's going to keep that alive for the meantime. A 3-2 discrepancy where actually Only's waiting in the wings. So 3v3, hook goes out, Draco looking for it. There's the instant petrifying gaze to try and turn things around. The counter engage to follow now. Only looking for an audacious charge and is forced to back away. And another time here, Rusty, when a skirmish doesn't follow through with a first blood.
Yeah, you'd have to say no flash for only there is something that saves Dragku. I believe the wind becomes lightning, the W that Xin throws. I would have just missed the flash of Dragku. I did feel like he was aiming for that one, but nevertheless, it misses. And so Nautilus is able to scrape away just by a couple of Teemos of distance away from the charge. Does mean that mid continues as per what it was before, but you've got Swathe constantly protecting.
That's some crazy damage right now from Shock. 1v2, just pure disrespect. Gets the kill on his own. Now looking to flash away from Swathe. Oh no, the last crit! It's out of range, but this does not matter. He still gets the kill. Now only on the hunt. As you say, no flash. And now Swathe's invisible, but a blind knock-up from Cupcake secures it. That's a beautiful passage of play.
You've got Cupcake running the numbers, seconds in advance, knows where the Evelyn's going. The sweeper secures that that's the direction he's running, and well played by Direwolves to secure the second kill. I think Swathe still plays it pretty well, all things considered, actually uses the ultimate as a gap closer, because he knows that if he misses that execute, he just dies and it's not worth it. So takes the safe route. Again, Evelyn player knows his limits and is able to get the trade back, if nothing else. But hey, Kise rushes Negatron Cloak to be a tank, still gets 1v2'd by Shock. What more could you want for Direwolves?
He's very much keen to get that Width End online as early as possible, right? For a little bit of sustain, a bit of extra trading potential. Fantastic start, though, for the star mid laner. Meanwhile, top side, I've been watching that passively for a few minutes now, and, you know, Lived is really getting the better half here of the Renekton, getting some fantastic trading patterns, especially with the Brittle procs.
Yeah, actually has been handling it quite nicely. Again, I think the Summoner Spell advantage is quite significant. It's weird to say that reflects directly through trading, but it does. It just means you can be more reckless and get away with things. Also having Evelyn topside, notably by Direwolves. Evelyn having the level advantage. Of course, only hit 6 now. There's been a big window where it's been a good time to be Lived. It hasn't been a good time to be Claire. But he does his job, which is survive. The cost was a lot of health, maybe a wave or two. But he does survive, and now the opportunities start to present themselves for Direwolves across the board, and already they've moved to the Rift Herald.
Looking for the Rift Heralds, and really has been the objective of choice here for Direwolves on this patch. 11-15, they've guaranteed themselves every single Heralds out of the 3 games played so far. It's going to be another one, and fantastic for a composition that has the Ziggs, as we've seen so often throughout the split.
Yeah, without fail, is going to be big if Guncrab's going to get some freedom out of his lane at the moment, has been heavily locked down here. Dragku just here to push this wave in, and this has been happening on repeat. It's so much freedom for Mboma and so much freedom for Dragku. Cupcake's the one who actually suffers from this. He's missing experience, so Dragku may be first to 6. I think the kill actually might help Cupcake just a little bit. Nevertheless, most of the game being played in stark contrast to yesterday's game from the Chiefs and from Direwolves, really. It's been around mid lane mainly here with hovering.
For the gold right now, mid jungler Direwolves in pole position. Expected with how the interaction has played out so far. And that seems to be still the focus. Dragku ambitious there with a hook. As he disengaged away, the ultimate follows there from Shock, who was hoping that perhaps Chiefs would have committed to that a little bit more. It might not be done just yet, though. So control wards there, Hex Flash across, following things up. The charm is there, only she's gone. Lights out, as easy as they come. Cupcake forced to disengage away, but now Kiss It becomes the Xin Zhao and chases on through. Finds redemption and finds a kill for himself.
Oof, I mean, that's really good for the hook just missing. Ricard transform as well. That was a dangerous place to be if you're Shock. He's able to navigate around it perfectly fine. Zig's ultimate used already, so he's just going to return back to his natural habitat, it seems, and the Drake should be the cost here. I mean, Chiefs, that was really big. You know, the use of the Hex Flash, the use of the Evelyn being invisible, knowing where the control wards were. They navigate the play really nicely to get themselves a couple of kills, and now they net themselves a pretty sizable advantage, it feels like, through mid and through jungle, because full items are completed. It's not just a Negatron Cloak Viego anymore.
This is exactly what we want, really, for both teams, you'd have to say, as I'm sure Lived is quite content playing at this current pace, knowing how volatile the different ideas of these individual champions are. He's very keen to hit level 13 and onwards and give them some scaling to talk about, some ornaments to pass on through, and continues to get the better half of Claire here, as you can see in these trading patterns. He's up by about 10 CS, but only once again looking to try and come through topside. Still has that Herald. Looking to see how Liv plays this one out. Hasn't been spotted by Vision because there is a control in try. But Liv's having none of it.
It's hard to say if he's looking for a gank or a counter gank. He's had to stop, was looking to get into the third bush there, and a kill could have been on. Claire has fantastic setup because he's a Renekton first and foremost, right? Hit the W, the gank is on. Liv can buffer that though and can still dash to safety. So this to me feels more like a counter gank than anything else. They're so afraid for Claire's life. Even though Evelyn was doing Krugs and resetting, that they've wasted 30 seconds of their own just to keep the Renekton alive.
Kisei just completely zoned away from this wave. He has no vision in either mid-brush.
Look at the control wards.
It's a pincer maneuver. Yeah, I mean, this is just really owned by Direwolves at the moment. Now the grand reveal, and also the Herald Summon. And with a minute left before these plates fall on down, huge injection of gold, looking to try and go into Shock's Cassiopeia.
He's going to get, boy, he's going to get some of those plates. I didn't see the gold come up on his head, but had the auto attacks on the plate, so did the job. I think you take that if you're Direwolves right now because you have, what, 1, 2, 3 control wards all around mid lane, all protecting Shock. Not a lot of angles in for Swayth, so you can play with a little bit more reckless abandon. You know, if this is a winning 1v1 matchup, go for gold, Shock. The amount of protection that he has been getting has left the flanks more, I'd say, wide open for pressure. And that's where Only comes into the mix. Because you've got Cupcake constantly hovering mid, you've got Only hovering mid to top. Gunkrab is the one who's been fairly safe, all things considered, when he is the one most exposed most of the time.
Speaking of exposed, a little bit worrisome up here in the top half. You know, these junglers keep popping their head in, sniffing out for trouble. Not finding it just yet, not at least since the very start of this game, where both junglers did collide. But it will continue to be a battle for Vision. A big roam from Draco, also playing topside River. Not going to find anything, forced to reset, but allow both AD carries to the bot side to get some solo experience. Just waiting, really, for that first big explosion of action. Gentleman's agreement, Direwolves went for the Herald, Chiefs went for the Dragon. But another one to talk about, just under 2 minutes.
And beyond that as well, we've got 3 tier builders in this game. I think there is a lot of calm in the waters for good reason. You know, the Ziggs wants to scale, the Cassiopeia naturally wants to scale, and if we actually take a wider scope on the game state as it is, I think both teams realistically are comfortable with getting towards the later game. Very different ways though. I think Direwolves can present a much more aggressive front-to-back style, using Renekton flanks, using a Xin Zhao, just shoving his face in. You've got a Cassiopeia to protect the Ziggs while Rakan engages. And that's not to say that Chiefs don't have engage or don't want to engage. I think that, again, it just presents in a very front-to-back manner for Direwolves. For the side of the Chiefs, because you have an Evelyn and a Viego, you can front-to-back. You would have to use, you know, the Ornn and the Nautilus would have to be there. But primarily, you probably are looking for a pick before the force of the fight. And that's where the range of an Ornn engage can come in, or the flank of an Evelyn invisibility becomes a very big deal.
Oh, the blind took from Draku. They were waiting for that one. Cupcake flashes on forward, the quickness. Ultimate charms out people, and Zambombi gets knocked away. He falls on down Only. Wind becomes lightning, gets himself the second, and out comes the call of the Forge God as Chiefs look to put up a fight and look to turn things around. The counter engage is flawless as they find one. They'll take down 2, and it's Kisei that gets the double kill.
I mean, ultimately, there was 2 teleports used from the Chiefs to get to this bottom lane trade to equalize the trade. Cupcake at risk of dying here.
Gonna run away. Now gonna look to try and hide behind the minions. It doesn't matter. Kisei flashes forward to try and hit the stun. But now the TP advantage that you were highlighting is now favoring Direwolves. Shock comes back in, picks up a kill. As the blue buff can look to run these members down. Now Swave has to be careful. He's being revealed by the vision. And he is looking to try and do the one shot. He hits the ult, but the flash away. And both people survive on 20%. And, well, that's as close as it comes.
I feel like the ult hit from Evelyn there as well, so the flash was late from Shock, but to quickly recap the fight, first and foremost, I think it was always winning for Direwolves because they are the ones who start this off with Only here, right? They start this fight off by having the 2 kills. Only flashes in, secures the knock-up, hits the W. So you've got Kisei and Liv coming into the fight, too late to help their allies. It's still good for them. You know, they'll be able to not only equalize the kills, they'll get gold in their pockets, they'll be able to match the trade. But you had Shock freely farming mid that entire time, saying this is just winning for us, because they've wasted resources literally just to match it. You know, the craziness comes in afterwards where they try and overdive, and you know, I still think that ultimately favors Direwolves in the end, and you can see the net gain is going to be the Dragon above just the kills. But the Chiefs are still fast to respond. They know what they're about. They're looking for those engages and those teleports with no hesitation.
And it was a long engage down bot side. I mean, the posturing for it, they were clearly waiting bot try for a fair bit of time, looking to try and force that hand, waiting for that wave to crash on through before they made their move. But you know, Drake, who's not one to be shy, went after the blind hook, found the target he was after. And he'll continue to do so all game as this Nautilus has the Moby boots, so might continue to see him being as nimble as possible and roaming before these big power spikes come on through. 360 being the magic number for these tiers. Worth noting, and I don't know how critical you want to be about it, we have double Leandries as opposed to Ludens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to rant too much about it. I feel like we've said our piece every single week for the first 6 weeks of the LCO, but usually you'd want just the one Leandries if possible, and we've also spoken about Ziggs wanting a Ludens over a Leandries if the enemy team's not going to have a lot of resistances. And, you know, you do have 3 tanks on the enemy team, so perhaps it is better to just have Leandries if you were Gun Crab. Yep. Nevertheless, stacking them not too efficient. Either way, that's the choice they've gone. What matters is their mythics are completed, and pretty much across the board the mythics are done. So we're starting to hit that big point where the next Dragon or the next Herald or whatever it may be, the next point of contention, could actually result in some pretty prolific fighting taking place.
Definitely not going to be short of any small damage profiles, that's for sure. Be very explosive in that regard. Liv isn't too far away now from his own magical number as they transition quite nicely through the mid game. And whilst it was the Chiefs that had a healthy 1k lead before, it's really flipped back in favor of Direwolves, much in part to that fight that we just saw and the acquisition of the Dragon soon after.
So I think this is the point in the game where things should start to shore up more for the Chiefs, right? You've got your lethality Varus, who in this game is actually in a very good position to be his champion if he's in mid lane, right? So if he hits mid game and is protected, the problem for Mboma is there's no turret, so not having the mid lane outer makes it harder. But if your team's able to get, say, like one side of mid lane fully controlled with vision, Varus outranges the Cassiopeia. Varus can outrange the Ziggs to an extent as well, and is a really nice bridging champ. You know, the flat lethality helps your Viego scale, your Evelyn scale, the time pass in the game, if nothing else, in a stalemate. So I think this is exactly where Chiefs want to be, able to utilize their bot lane being mid and use the Nautilus and the Eve, like you're seeing, to find picks.
Sway being a bit of a pest there. Talking about picks. Zoning away Shock from the wave, making it very difficult for him to step up. No stopwatch and no real chance to prevent all the bursts that could have come on through. Neither had a flash, as we saw from the previous exchange between the two of them.
Yeah, Skibby, I'm super curious to, particularly at the end of this game, see the difference in wards placed between both teams, because just my gut check from watching this so far, Direwolves have been overloaded with control wards. It's of necessity because you're dealing with an Eve, but I think the contrast is stark.
It is quite stark. That's a 2-man petrifying gaze as they look to try and follow things up here, but it isn't enough as they will draw blood. A 1-for-1 so far, but it favors the Chiefs as they've taken down the mid lane. They've removed the Cassiopeia. They've also taken out Cupcake, and now they're going to try and turn their attention on towards Liv. Direwolves mounting their comeback, but in a 4-man turnaround, and suddenly it's Renekton up against the world. The Dominus is still there. He's burning him down. It's acting like a Sunfire cape, but he needs to sustain to try and do the damage, and they're going to catch out Swaif, and somehow they're turning this one around. The pick that started with Chiefs on the front foot is now being punished by Direwolves on the back foot. And regardless of the W not connecting, the audacious charge is there and only hits a triple kill.
I mean, only comes up huge, but let's not forget about the contributions of Claire in that team fight. So much AoE damage that he just layers down onto them with the Renekton. You know, slicing, dicing, slashing, Shock at a teleport in here as well. You've got Dragu waiting in the wings, but no one to support him to stop this, and a Cassiopeia does it too quick. So Baron goes the way of Direwolves. Overall, again, it is still a pretty large victory going the way of the Wolfpack. But if you consider how we got to this position, I think Chiefs played it exactly how we thought they would, right? They used the Evelyn, they looked for the picks, but it's the response from the Bash brothers, the Xin Zhao and the Renekton up there.
Yeah.
That get into the fight, get into the mix, and in mid-game, you're dealing with an Evelynn who can't burst them out and a Varus who's lethality. So they just kind of slowly run you over. And that's what you'll get to see on the back half of this fight. Gunkrab quietly achieving, it must be said as well, from this point onwards through the rest of this fight. But, only comes in, teleports good. Claire knows exactly where he wants to be, flashes forwards to maximize his damage output. And Boma's gone. Kisei's desperate. They're stuck on the wrong side of the map. And Swathe, not enough burst to take anybody down, like we said. And that's all she wrote for that fight.
Well, it was all she wrote. And once again, it all started with that dredge line to try and find that initial pick. And whilst both mid laners, as you saw from the damage breakdown, weren't able to contribute too much, certainly is the case that the rest of the team aren't lacking with damage when required. And that's allowed now Direwolves with quicker respawns and more members surviving to claim themselves the very first Baron of the game and be the first to bridge that 40k margin.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, at this point in the game, while I still think there is potential for the Chiefs to bring it back, probably through the Viego, I think their damage is starting to become more and more lacking. I think with the lead that Direwolves have, their composition makes this a little bit too good. Ease of access. Like we said before, Skimmy, if luck's the residue of design, then Direwolves are feeling very lucky right now with the way their comp is in this game.
Can't think of anything really worse than having to face check a level 16 Cassiopeia. Maybe an Evelynn is up there. I mean, you're talking about big, strong burst between the two of them. But that's a hypothetical. That's still a couple of levels away. As Claire once again hits the Dominus and is looking for the 1v2 as that does a whole bunch of AoE damage. They're going to try and regroup up with the rest of the team by the end of the buildup. 1Q! And it's a whole bunch of lifesteal combo there with the Gore Drinker. There's just too much sustain for the Chiefs to have to deal with.
Yeah, Direwolves, a big team fight again. Claire just can't be killed. There's not enough damage. And that really is the bigger picture of this game. The Renekton and the Xin Zhao are going to be too clutch a pick for Chiefs to deal with. They wanted the picks, they wanted the snowball, and that is starting to really unravel in front of their own eyes. That felt like a last-ditch effort pick. Claire, they thought he was out of position. Reinforcements were there, and that inhibitor definitely gone. The question is, do they go beyond?
Well, we've seen this happen before. When you have the Ziggs, you look to try and push this one. They still have the Baron. Another 15 seconds. It's going to be tight. They had a cannon there if they wanted to. Risky decision for them to consider, and I think they've made the ultimate call that not long enough to go for this one. We're going to have to completely collapse on towards Liv here, who's gone for that 1v4. The rest of Chiefs still pursuing
Liv
from their base. Now Liv is running away from their team. A two-man knockup. There's the Bellows Grip. There's the damage to follow up afterwards. The Brittle Proc isn't enough, and a clean disengage, quote, from the Direwolves.
Yeah, I mean, they just pressure the Ord until he folds. You have to pick your battle sooner or later, Liv, or you're just going to die. So tries to pick a fight. The rest of the team couldn't catch up by any means in time. I like the idea. I like the killer instinct there from the Chiefs, but Liv didn't have Flash, didn't have his ultimate until right now. And that can be said for a lot of the Chiefs there. So they just try and make a play. And again, starting to get the feelings of desperation. And there is no split push win condition this time around, Skimmy. Quite the opposite when your split pusher from last game is now an Ornn looking to team fight in this one. And again, you start this fight onto a Nautilus and an Ornn, you're probably not killing him in any circumstance. Swathe was trying to bait out a bit of health, but only's got a good register on where he is. Even though he goes down for it, the price just so incredibly high.
And it does feel like, the prototypical Chiefs archetype, right? Big, strong burst, resets hunting. You're looking for the Viego and the Evelynn to get the ball rolling and then let the fight try and snowball from that. But we're seeing now, in a few fights, difference in positioning and target selection has ultimately allowed Direwolves to stay topped up and healthy and group up and stand strong and true together. And now, 6 turrets to 2. Pieces of the puzzle are slowly starting to come together here. And it may just be with the bot lane crashing, the final piece of that puzzle.
The Direwolves looking very good on their way towards playoffs, without a doubt here as well. Looking at how they close this game out. It should be easy for them, but the fight's happening.
Once again, clear the focus. Call of the Forge God is going to knock him up. Pop the Sterix. Now look at try and follow things up. As Swathe just gets deleted. And then they find a second kill in the Ornn. Lived is gone. It's a triple across the board. And it's that big man and only once again picking up the majority of these kill streaks.
And again, Rakan Ziggs quietly achieving as a nice little duo bot lane also. You've got the, the unkillable top side of the map working with the high damage and engagement on the bot side. That very well could just be game. Baron buff or not, you'd expect the Direwolves to push now.
Well, they crossed the map last time against Order. This time they've TP'd top side. Clear and Only up against their old organization, looking to cause the win here. Looking to give Direwolves the 2-1 head-to-head against Chiefs and looking to plant themselves in the third spot in the LCO. Unable to find that first pick just yet as Cupcake seems to be in a bit of trouble. It's a 2-kill found here by Kissei. Now making it a triple kill as the Nexus is exposed. Claire, one more auto! And he finally gets it done. Backdoor Justice won't be on the menu today, but it is a win for the Direwolves.
Gee, that was very close to not being an end. That would have been 2 days in a row that happened for the Direwolves, by the way. Yesterday only kind of just shoved himself into a fountain laser and apologized profusely, but hey, this time around they get the end. Claire's able to get it done, and I believe with that win, Skimmy, Direwolves put themselves 14-7, which not only puts them even with Chiefs on the standings, actually puts them above them. So now Direwolves move up to third, where I believe Chiefs are now fourth.
Yeah, and isn't that a wild situation to consider going into this day that they were locked in first, and now they're going to find themselves in fourth. Mac, what do you make of that game? I mean, that pretty much had all the action you could ask for.
That was just one of those crazy ones, and gentlemen, now that sets us up for the four-way tie. So let's see if this reality comes true. However, for now, we just have to look back at game number 1 because we've still got 3 more bangers to get to. So let's have a quick look back at this one. Of course, Direwolves coming through with the goods there. They almost dropped the ball. I was watching the end, I'm like, no. What are they doing? Just if you hit the Nexus, if all 5 of you just hit the Nexus, then the W comes to you. It's crazy. And they almost threw it away for a moment, although they had the lead enough that they could have pretty much ended at any point at the end there. And Chiefs gifted a second chance. You know, we saw Draku doing his beautiful stretches at the start of the game. Didn't really help him too much, did it, Rust?
Yeah, not enough. The hooks were hitting, but he wasn't able to get through the mid-game with the rest of his team intact. And even the fights like that you just saw, where it felt like an even trade for the Chiefs, was never really even. It always felt like it was losing, and slowly but surely, Direwolves put in the work. Cupcake in this fight couples with Shock, and it just, it did really feel like once Direwolves got a lead, they're able to wrangle the rest of the game out fairly easily. And this does seem to be, at least in my mind, a pretty consistent trend from Direwolves. If they draft really well, they look like they're in control of the game. And if they get a lead in a game, they very rarely look like losing that one.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. There was a few times where we did see, especially at that top, one of the early top fights where it could have been 2 kills, 2 Chiefs. I really want to look back at that at some point and try to figure out, would we have seen a completely different game if those 2 kills did go across into the hands of Chiefs? Everything would have changed, would have been just such more an advantage. However, Direwolves did manage to escape with their lives and then managed to come back in the game off the back of it, so I'm sure they're going to be pretty happy with themselves. This puts them into a slightly better position now going into playoffs. And they did have a little bit of a goal lead. There wasn't too many Dragons taken this game, and it was relatively short, the sub 30-minute game. All things considered, I thought we were in for a sort of 40-minute banger, expecting at least another 10 minutes for it to be dragged out there. But Direwolves knew that they could finish, and they certainly did that right at the end. Anyway, there's numbers here. Rusty, you want to tell me about them?
What do you want to know about them? Because there's a lot of numbers.
Look at those graph ones. The damage.
Yeah, the damage dealt to champions.
Yeah.
The big thing here, Mac, is that pretty even damage spread actually through most of the members. So there was no one standout carry. And I do think, again, a lot of this comes down to Direwolves picking red side. I do think red side's stronger. Getting Cassiopeia as their 5th pick. Even if it's predictable, even if you know he's going to pick it, it just does so well into the Chiefs' composition. So I do think there was a bit of a draft gap or driffy-diffy.
A driffy-diffy again. That's 2 days in a row now. I'm glad we coined that term, and I'm glad that you remembered it because I already forgot it. However, someone that never forgets things is Nat, so let's bring her back into the conversation and ask her, what happened yesterday, Nat?
What specifically yesterday? Because I could totally run through all the games.
Pick one thing.
Order lost their win streak to Direwolves, and it looks like Direwolves could be on a new win streak.
That did happen. That did certainly happen. Now, you've got a winner down on the side lanes there too, so who is it?
I do have Claire joining me for the post-game interview. Congratulations on that win. You guys are looking absolutely amazing this week. How do you feel after yet another win?
I think it feels really, really freaking good to finally be able to have pretty good games versus top of the table teams. I think for most of this split, we were struggling like the first half, and I think it was kind of reminiscent of our split one, but I feel like it was worse this time. I feel like our losses looked like we were getting stomped harder, but it also took longer for us to like start winning games to split compared to last split, where we lost for like 3 weeks in a row, and then after that it was like kind of smooth-ish sailing. But yeah, now that we finally like yesterday's game and today's game, I think feels really good for me personally, because I think those two teams are pretty good, Order and Chiefs, and I feel like in playoffs they're going to be real contenders. Like the games are going to be really intense, the series are going to be long, so it feels good to take these wins out.
Yeah, like you said, you guys were looking a little bit rough at the start of the split. Luckily, we had a longer split this time, and you guys are just looking absolutely peak performance right now. Talking about this game, though, was there anything too surprising in that draft, or were you guys expecting a lot of that from the teams?
I think Lived playing on is always a bit of a pick that throws me off, but the rest of the draft was pretty standard. I think we expected the Swaith Evelyn. I think we had a lot of picks that we planned for and that we ended up getting. So I don't know, like recently, these past few weeks, maybe it's just the patch or the current meta, but every time we're in Champ Select, we always like see these like champions that can be picked, or like we pick them in a good order, and I don't know, it just always feels really good for us. Like coming out of Champ Select, loading into the level 1, all of us are on champions that we're confident on, and it, I don't know, I guess the patch is just really good for us.
You have that 200 IQ draft knowledge now, I guess, potentially. But you say that, you know, a lot of that draft kind of did go the way you expected. So was your game plan coming in to be as aggressive as you guys were today, or is that just something that formulated with the draft that you ended up?
I mean, if we're just playing champs that we're good at and champs that are just strong in general, we're going to run over people. Like, I think Ziggs specifically probably adds to that fact, because you just kind of blow up turrets super quick, and I think that champ is super OP. I don't know how we keep getting it. But yeah, like when we're just playing comfort, we just play our lanes. Maybe the early game doesn't go too well. Like I think this game in particular, early game was a bit sketch. I think mid went really well for us. I think Ari played well individually, so that helped us out. And then we got like really small advantages here and there, and we really translated it into quite a snowbally game, and I think that is a result of our comfort and expertise in these champions, as well as the champs just being strong.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more credit due for that draft that you guys got. Really quickly, last question though before I let you go is, you know, you say that it kind of just snowballed for you guys. Was there any nerves at all? Were you worried at any point in time that you might throw a lead and you might end up losing that game?
Well, I think after the botched 2v2 in top lane, I was a bit worried. I just kind of hugged my turret for the rest of the game. But I will say one thing, playing against Swaith Evelyn, I am just perma-terrified. Every time I leave my turret, I never want to fight, so I'm kind of sweating the whole game. But after we like killed him a few times in some skirmishes, he became really weak, so it was pretty smooth sailing from there. I think at one point, like I was just like standing on top of 3 enemy champions. I literally like just right-clicked someone and like didn't even try to run because I realized they were never going to kill me, so that was really fun.
It definitely played to your strengths at the end, even if you were nervous at the start. But look, congratulations yet again, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Always good to hear from the man in the top lane from Direwolves, Claire. He had a pretty damn good game yesterday, and he had a pretty damn good game again today, going full tank, just running it down in a good way, as the Renekton. And because of that, guess what? DoorDash, player that delivered, it's that man that was just on your screen. Yes, even if he didn't have a crazy game today, he had a pretty good smart steal, boulder steal yesterday, so I'd even give it to him for that one. However, 119, 62% kill participation. You know, there's a couple of numbers, but it's more I guess the impact of what he did, right, Rusty?
I think of it like this. He could have died 100 times in top lane, given the way that the game was playing out. All of the protection, it felt like, was mostly around mid. But the fact that he didn't die in just laning phase at all, really, speaks to the player, I think, and how much he's improving in his top lane. Given that like 3 weeks ago, he would die off cooldown 6 times in the first 5 minutes. So
I was going to
Mark
talk about that. He like has had such a big turnaround compared to what we saw even just last week, right? I don't know. It feels like a whole new Claire that we're seeing in these past 2 days.
It's pretty crazy, the turnaround. Like from the start of last split, how much he improved towards the end of last split, and then how much he's improved to where we are today is just a crazy damn time for everyone. But look, we have another game to get to because we need to see if this prophecy unfolds. It is going to be in Gravitas against PGG. Now, I don't know if you guys had your dinner or not. Exclamation DoorDash in chat for that. Exclamation playlist in chat if you want to hear or have a look at all the songs that we've had so far on the LCO. Different song today. It is going to be Pain by Pink Pantheress. So let's have a quick look at that one while we do go to a break. After it, though, it is game number 2. Gravitas and Pentanet going head-to-head.
And Clear once again hits the dominance. He's looking for the 1v2 as that does a whole bunch of AoE damage. He's going to try and regroup up with the rest of the team by the end of your boob up. 1 Q! And there's a whole bunch of lifesteal combo there with the Gore Drinker.
looking at how they close this game out, it should be easy for them, but the fight's happening.
Once again, Clear the focus. But all the forward spot is